Okay, welcome back. In this second part of the video, we're going to show you how to make this Metatron's cube work with phi. As you see, I have a completed version right here that I've created. Now, one of the things that I've done that makes this a little bit easier is I've created it in two layers. I have one layer for the circle and I have one layer for the triangle. So up here, I can turn my circles off, for example, or I can turn my triangles off. And this is really useful because in this particular instance, we don't want those circles on. We want to take them off temporarily. So I'm going to go ahead and lock that down so they don't get touched. I'm going to go ahead and turn them off. And then, so here's what we need to figure out real quick. The reason Metatron's cube does not naturally work with phi is because of the way that the circles are arranged, which you'll notice that you see two rectangles here. And the way that a hexagon is shaped does not give it the perfect phi that you want. But let me show you something. So if I take a look here, if I measure, for example, the largest rectangle, which is, when we finish, will be a golden rectangle, but right now it's not. If I measure that from here to here, we'll see that's 1,000, right? So if that's 1,000, then that means if I'm going to have a golden rectangle, the length needs to be 1.168 times that size, as far as the lengthwise goes. Well, we'll see that it's not quite like 4 by 8 or something like that, but we'll see that it's not quite phi. So if we do a measurement from here to here, we'll see that it's about 1,732. So the problem is we need to get that 1,732 down to 1,618. Now, the reason I always start with something like a height of having 1,000 or something like that, because you don't have to worry about doing much of a calculation. All I know is I need to get this length here down to 1618. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all of the stuff that you see right here. And since this whole width that we see right here is 1,732, we're going to change that to 1618. Now if you see, it just mashed a little bit, right? But let's go ahead and do something real quick. First, what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. And I'm going to go ahead and move it to the layer where my circles are. And just to make sure I've got it there, I'm going to turn this layer off, and the circles now contain that layer. So the circles contain everything now, okay? And my layer contains this. Alright, so let's come back up here again, and we're going to go ahead and squash it down to 1618. And we'll make sure that's grouped. Yeah, it's all grouped together. Okay, so now it's just a matter of turning the circles back on and centering it. So we're going to turn these circles back on, and we're going to find it, which is right here, the squash version. And the reason this snap to grid is so important is because of this type of thing right here. We're going to find the very center, just like that, and then we're going to group all those together, and your finished product will look like this. So what you'll have is you'll have both the original and the phi version in the same image. So for example, if I want a golden rectangle, you'll notice that there's a rectangle right here, a smaller one that's slightly smaller than this one out here. That slightly smaller one is a golden rectangle. Now if you remember, when I was showing you the pyramid and the golden rhombus that was going to be underneath it, and I wanted to show you these calculations where you see the moon and how the pyramid should be, and the capstone area, the moon should fit right under it perfectly. We were having issues with that. Well, this kind of stuff helps with that, because you'll just notice that if you're not working with phi, you'll have these small errors that can become annoying at sometimes. And if you really need to be exact on something, sometimes this is a good thing to use. Just remember that because we squashed it like this, that you can only use this upright. In other words, I can't take this image and then start rotating it like say 30 degrees and doing however I want to with it. You need to keep it upright like this, either like this or flipping it vertically and using it like that. But don't roll it 30 degrees and use it like that, because it's no longer going to work that way, okay? Because the circles, the outer circle, like the inner circles are fine, but you're going to notice the outer circles are slightly different now. Now, and one of the other things that I will do too is I'll take a circle, and let me just put that on there real quick and I'll show you what I do. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and select one of my circles that I see right here, and I'm going to duplicate that, and then I'm going to move it over to the middle here, and then I'm going to grow that thing until the outer perimeter of the circle is, in fact, we should be able to just do it by making it 16, 18. No, that's not right. Okay, we're just going to go ahead and grow the circle here. And you're going to notice that your circle is going to look slightly different than it would normally look because you're using the phi based. Make sure your circle stays right in the middle so it does this properly on all of them. And you see these corners right here? That is where the circle needs to be. Not the outer corners, the inner one. Okay. So if I look at all the corners, they should be relatively on the same spot. Now I'm going to back out, and you'll notice that this circle kind of cuts off these areas that you see right here and here. So what we're going to do is now we're going to duplicate this circle. And I'm just going to take this grid off so it's easy for you to see stuff, because we don't need it now. So we're going to duplicate that, and then we're going to take this and we're going to scale it by 50%. Oops, you want to keep it together. Make sure you scale it using the same height and proportion. Okay, and that gives us our inner one. So if we want to take a look at the one on the inner one, we can use that as well. Now, for example, for using this particular image that you see right here, it's very helpful because that circle that we're using is the size that we're going to be using in our calculations for things like the moon and stuff like that. So this is what the finished cube looks like, and I'm going to post one for you. I'm going to post a large one, and it's about 7,000 bytes by 8,000 something. And so the reason why you have to do this, these golden rectangles and these golden rhombuses that you see in here, obviously are very important. If you remember this particular image that I found inside the Great Pyramid, it would be helpful if we can find these types of images using our golden version. And sometimes the regular version is fine for the initial discovery, but if you want to be really exact about it, then I would pull out your one that you use for phi modification, because it can be kind of hectic to look at sometimes because there's all those lines on there if you don't need to. So I wouldn't use it all the time. I would use your regular Metatron's cube most of the time, and then use the one that works for phi when you know you found something and you want to ensure that. So, and this is what happens. This is the kind of stuff that's the result of that. Down here, as you can see, this is both Metatron's cubes are still on the page. Down there you have the original rhombus that you see right here, and you can see that the corners reach to the larger version of the golden rectangle that you see. And on the golden rhombus that you see right here, the height is the same, but now it's mashed to that proper value, right? And so you can see it's a little bit smaller width-wise than what you see right here. But the result is that when we do our calculations and stuff like that, if you'll notice, the moon fits in there just perfectly now, because we were having to account for about a 14 or 15 pixel adjustment by doing it the other way. And so you can save yourself some time and hassle sometimes when you find something, just go ahead and use the one for phi. Just remember not to rotate it 30 or whatever degrees after you've gotten it. After you get this image, you need to keep it upright because of the way that the circles are. It'll throw things off if you try to turn it 30 degrees or something. So it's basically for height and it's got all these golden rectangles and golden rhombuses and things like that in it when you use it this way. So anyway, so I hope that helps you guys. I'm going to post a link for you guys out on my Google Drive. It's going to be a ping image, and it's not going to have a background. It's just going to be white, so you probably won't see it initially if you'll roll your mouse cursor or your mouse wheel back and forth on the drive. Then Google will pop it up for you, and you can see it. It's really large, and you'll be able to use it for any of your own stuff if you don't have Linkscape, or if you don't know how to use it or anything like that right now. All right, so you guys take care and have a great weekend. I'll talk to you soon.